Okay, testing 1, 2. All right, so this is it. We are leading off season 1 of the Film Physician. I've decided to, if you've seen anything on Discord, or I think I also posted it in a previous video, I talked about how I was going to do seasons of content where I was going to have 4 or 5 movies where I'm going to go really, or maybe even a video game, where I'm going to go really in depth and talk about those 4 or 5 for that period of time. Upload at least one, if not 2 videos for each movie or video game, and then when the season ends, I'll just go more back on to off content like ITPs and just kind of more whatever I'm feeling at the time. So today we're going to be talking about, I think this is the first horror film we've ever talked about on this channel. We're going to be talking about the movie Saw, specifically the 2004 movie Saw. And I gotta say, uh, I was kind of never really that big of a horror fan when it came to movies. Like, for the longest time, I didn't really care about them. I didn't watch them really. And they just weren't my cup of tea. And I just had this notion that, like, horror movies were not that great. And then uh, I started getting into horror movies. I watched 1978's Halloween, and I really liked it. And so then I watched the Friday the 13th movies, and then I watched Get Out, I watched Us, I watched some other movies. And I started getting into the genre. But one I had watched when I was younger was Saw. And when I first watched it, I thought it was like a really good movie, and it kind of creeped me out for a long time. And I thought it was a really creepy movie, and I thought this might be one of the, this movie was really good. But now I rewatched it as an adult, and I think it was Halloween time, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this again, and it just, I just, now that I'm like like a critic and I review stuff, and like I try to look at it more objectively. I'm sorry, not objectively, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to like get down to the nitty gritty. I couldn't help but notice. I'm like, this movie is kind of bad. And when you think about it, there's so much, like, when a horror franchise like Saw goes as long as it has, like, I think 2004 till now they're still making them. I think they just came out with a reboot, and there's going to be, like, I think another sequel after that. And same thing with, it's just when you have a franchise that runs that long, for me, you gotta have a good base movie to jump off of. Like, I like the Halloween franchise because we have the 1978 Halloween is a classic. Okay, pretty sure it's 70. It might be 79, but the original Halloween, regardless, is a classic. No matter what, no matter how many years from now it goes, it's always gonna be creepy. It's always gonna be a good movie, a great movie. It's definitely a movie that's inspired tons of movies after it. It's a landmark film for the horror genre when it comes to movies. Um, and then so you can I kind of understand where the subsequent amount of tons of garbage fodder sequels comes from. And even Halloween, it's not so bad because some of the sequels, sorry, notification on my computer. Some of the sequels are not, terrible. You know what I mean? Like, especially like the newest one is actually pretty good. You know what I mean? The newest Halloween is pretty good. There's actually a couple others sprinkled in there. They're all right, but most of them are garbage fodder. But it's like you understand where they came from. You understand why there was a million garbage fodder Michael Myers movies that were made afterwards because the first one was really good. But like with Friday the 13th and Saw, I just never understood why these movies got as many adaptations afterwards. Well, not maybe not adaptations, but sequels afterwards. I just didn't understand. Like Friday the 13th, first movie is not great. It's not great. And but yet there's like a ton of sequels, like way too many sequels. It's like, do we really need this many Jason movies? I mean, really? And and in that case, the Friday the 13th problem is that repetition, that the movies, especially the first like 6, are just like very way too similar. But that's not the point. But with Saw, I felt the same thing. I watched this first movie and I was just like, this movie made how many sequels? And I was like, that's ridiculous. I don't get that. Now, I will be fair to this isn't going to be a largely negative review, which is, we're doing this in podcast form. Um, I'm gonna warn you. This is a negative review. I did not like 2004 Saw. I don't think it's that great of a movie, and I think it's bad enough to the point where, you know, it shouldn't have deserved this many sequels. And I usually wouldn't talk about it, but like, it has this many sequels. It's still running, and third, I think the third and biggest point is that I think there was potential with this franchise, and especially this first movie. I think there was potential to be really good. I think the concept's really cool. I feel like also a lot of the circumstances, especially for the first movie, stuff was out of their control. Stuff like we're gonna get to them, but I just I feel like that's what irks me. If I expect like a movie to be bad, like Tomorrowland, and if any of you remember that I didn't expect shit from that movie. I expected it to be terrible, and it was terrible. So I didn't feel like I needed to make a review to comment why it's terrible. Sure, it's one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen, but like, I don't need to make a review to talk about it because there was no potential there, and no one says it's good. There's no like outstanding people who say, "Oh, that was a great movie," or and there wasn't no potential. There was no potential there. So why would I care? Why should I review it? This was a movie that lots of people regard as actually really good, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, clearly its success would back up that it is good. But most importantly, I feel like this one was just a wasted opportunity. I personally like watching the movie from time to time. Like every Halloween, I usually watch it, and I have just kind of a fun time with it. But like, still, I mean, it's just not that great of a movie. We're gonna be talking about it, and we're gonna first be talking about limitations. And also, before I start this review, I don't know if I already said this. I have not seen any movie past the original Saw. I have not seen Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, whatever, all those sequels. Not seen them. I basically know what happens in them, and you might say that this review is a tadly, misinformed for this review because you probably say, well, why don't you watch the entire franchise, before you go make a review, to kind of. So there's going to be some criticisms that are going to be a franchise criticism, and some of them are going to be more of an individual movie. For the franchise criticisms, I mean, you be the judge of that. But I just didn't feel up. There's like a ton of the Saw movies. I didn't feel up to it to go and rewatch. Well, not rewatch, but watch all of them for the first time. I have a general basis and knowledge of the series from like YouTube videos and outside knowledge. So I know enough. To somewhat criticize the whole franchise. But we're gonna be mostly looking at criticisms of the very first movie, because I feel like that's also the only one worth talking about. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, let's get into it, shall we? So, first problem is limitations. Now a lot of people might not know this, but the original Saw had like a shoestring budget. It was terrible how little of a budget it was. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think there was something like $1,000 is how much they had to make this movie, and that is just like ridiculous when you think about it. You know what I mean? To make a movie with that low of a budget. I might be wrong about that. Maybe I got that number for some like incorrect number, but from what I was hearing, this movie had one of like the lowest budgets ever to make it this big. And so the fact that they did as good as they did with that little of a budget is really amazing. But the lack of budget definitely shows a lot of times. Like, for example, you don't see, and I'm not saying this will make the film better because it obviously didn't make the sequels better, but like, you don't see the doctor cut his foot off. You don't see the Adam bash the fucking Zep guy, the guy from Lost's head in. You don't see that. A lot of everything, all the traps, they're all shot, and like the three early traps, like the bear trap, the fire trap, and then like the barbed wire trap. You don't see shit. It's like shot really quick and fast, and like to the point where you can't see it. You know what I mean? And I understand why they had to do it with all these cutaways and all this weird editing, and how fast they were moving the camera. It's because they don't have a budget to make a set, they don't have the money to do it. You know what I mean? They have to get creative, and I get that, and I don't think that would make the movie better. I don't think that because like the future movies had more of a budget and they were more graphic, and that didn't make them better. But it would have helped a little bit more because like when you watch these as like when you watch this movie like after like a couple times, you start to see how obvious it is and how it kind of gets really cheesy after a while. You know what I mean? And and for a movie that's trying to do this, that's kind of working with this graphic of a concept, you know what I mean, of like torture porn and like traps and shit. You know what I mean? Um, you gotta have at least something, there. But like I feel like when you rewatch it, you just see like they were really constricted with the budget, and the movie just kind of looks cheesy because of it. Uh, Another thing is that half the movie, another thing that's tied to budget is that half the movie takes place in the bathroom trap, and once again, this is a problem, that really only stems from the fact that they didn't have money. You know what I mean? They were working off the limitation. I get art from adversity, but like, you know, it just gets kind of a little bit boring, watching these two in the same environment in the same bathroom the entire for half the movie, and it kind of feels a little cheesy. It kind of feels like a little cheap, but um, and another problem they had was that the screenwriter, or I think it was just the writer, I'm not sure. I think he may have done both the screenwriting and the writing. It was his first time out as a writer. He had never wrote anything before. He was getting his feet wet, and that explains a lot about the movie and about how situations play out. So, for example, um, in the scene when they infiltrate the Jigsaw killer's lair, right? And they're finding all like his puppet and like like his mask and his like the victim and like they're finding all this shit in this mannequin factory. And he starts coming up the elevator, and these two cops, they have guns on them, right? They have a shotgun and a pistol, and your natural thought is just go up to the elevator, stand on either side, and when he walks out, put the gun up to his head and say, "Freeze, you're under arrest." Or why not even when he just comes up on the elevator, just be there waiting with the guns pointed at him, and if he tries to like lower it, you have a reason to kill him. Like I understand as like when you're a detective or a police officer, I mean you can't just shoot the bad guy even if he's the bad guy. You gotta have probable cause for why you had to resort to shooting. But in that case, if he just presses down on the button and he just keeps going down on that slow ass elevator, they have reason to like get in the way, so they shoot him, blast him. He's gonna die. I mean that's it, dead. Or like wait till he gets out and then just like hide behind something and then just tackle him as he comes in, slap the cuffs on him, take him away. But they pick like the worst option, and then not only that, they go off to like to the side area, and they wait till he gets right next to the victim, the guy in the chair with the drills next to his throat, and like so right where he could be used as a hostage, and then they pop out and say, "Put your hands up." And then there was another part in that where he goes and the cop has the saw killer at gunpoint, and he doesn't remove his hat like his hood. He doesn't like handcuff him. He doesn't tell him to like get on the floor and spread your legs and like shit. Like everybody remembers Superbad, and when like Seth Rogen goes and you go well the other cop, sorry, I think with Bill Hader, he goes, spread your shit, and they go out and they fucking spread their arms and hands and their legs, and like so they can't grab anything. Well, like I don't understand why he didn't do it here, and it's like he doesn't have any leverage. It's like, bro, you have a shotgun up to his head. What is he fucking gonna do? He makes one move you don't like, you could just blow his head off. Okay? I mean, it's you have the upper hand here, or at least take the mask off, and so you can get a visual. You can see what the guy looks like. I mean, and then he gets away, of course, and it just that for me is a problem when it's so blatantly, when the characters have to be so stupid, and careless to make the plot keep going. That is when I'm like, ugh. I start cringing when I watch scenes like that. I'm like, ugh, like, ugh. Couldn't you have made it a little bit more convincing of a scene? Couldn't you? And it's like this is supposed to be like a really gritty, like like twisted film, like cop drama almost, serial killer drama, like like CSI Miami shit, and like you're just making it look so like the way you have the situation play out from a writing standpoint is just it's just awful. And it kind of, and I understand writer's first time, it's a limitation. I think if he had some more experience underneath his belt, I think this movie would have turned out way better, and he would have wrote the sequences better. But then again, I mean, it's just that's just something that's I don't know. I've never wrote a film, and I can tell you that I would not, if I saw that when they turned that into, if they turned that script into me, I would immediately say no, rewrite the script, rewrite the scene, make it look more believable. Don't make it so cringe inducing. Um, as far as that goes, I think the direction is actually really good. I know the director is really big now, and he's done a ton of shit. You know what I mean? And props to him for doing that. Um, but and I think the direction in scenes like really works. Like I feel like one of the best scenes of direction is when the Hello Zep, like spoiler, but like the Hello Zep moment when it revealed it's the guy on the floor is the killer, and like Adam's having this realization of what's been going on, and like the audience is like piecing it all to fucking together, and you got that fucking great music in the background. Like that scene almost is enough to make me forgive the rest of the film. That scene where like everything comes together, and like all the puzzle pieces fall in place, and we see everything comes full circle. It's just is very satisfying. And it's very, and like the first time you watch it, you're like, holy shit! And the direction of the scene is so good, and it's played out so well that it makes you forget how kind of dumb, like if you really look, how dumb the scene is when you think about as it came up to this point. Like, because like when you say it's the guy on the floor is the killer, it just like, well, that's not really a twist. That's more, I think Confused Matthew said this in his review, and I don't want to get caught for like quoting him word for word, but he said like, that's not really a twist. It's something we didn't really have a fair shake of finding out. You know what I mean? We don't really know who the guy on the floor is. You know what I mean? We still don't really know who the killer is. You know what I mean? And I get future sequels would have elaborated on this, but if we're just talking this movie, I mean, like, we don't know who the hell this guy is. He just kind of came out of nowhere, came out of left field. You know what I mean? And so this twist feels a bit undeserved. And then you also have to wonder, like, what was his fucking plan? Was his plan just to sit there in the fucking trap and then, like, to die with them? Like, what happens? What happens if situations don't play out perfectly for him? You have to think about it. Everything had to go fucking perfect for him to get to this point. I mean, everything had to fall directly into place. Every domino had to hit. Zepp had to be killed. Dr. Gordon had to leave, and Adam had to find that. Everything. And Adam had to lose the key. He had to not be able to shoot him with the gun. He had to lose the gun. Yeah, and you think everything that's led up to this point for him to have gotten through this trap, and also the fact that he's like a cancer patient and he's been laying on the floor. A cancer patient is laying on the floor with a tumor in his head, and he's with poisonous blood, mind you, on the floor right next to his face and all over him. He was able to sit there and not make a move, and not cough or make do anything, and just able to sit there perfectly still, and was able to be that convincing of being dead on a hard fucking surface on the floor. It's just kind of like it's improbable, and I get it. He's a, it's a fictional movie, played up for dramatic sake, but it's just a little too much. It's it compound when you have that many suspensions of disbelief, you just kind of lose your feels for it. So while I like the scene, I love the scene when they reveal that the guy on the floor is the killer, and I didn't see it coming. I didn't really actually get a fair, like Confused Matthew said, we didn't really get a fair shot at knowing that thinking he was the killer. You know what I mean? We thought, the movie was really propping it up that the killer was gonna be someone we knew. You know what I mean? We knew stuff about. You know what I mean? what that we had seen in the movie, and it's just like the way when you say it was a guy trudging in the background of the film the entire time, it doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? It's just like kind of a random guy out of nowhere. You know what I mean? That we knew nothing about, and we had. I think if we had gotten more hints, if there was more like subtle nods that maybe the guy on the floor is the killer, maybe it would have been better. I feel like the fact that the why the twist is so surprising is because you just don't fucking know. Like this guy had nothing to do with the story. Like other than the fact that he was the Saw killer, he had nothing to do. We had never seen him outside of his facade, like his puppet and him in the hood. Like we never seen. We didn't really see him outside doing too much. We see him lying on the cancer on the bed when he has cancer, and listening in maybe to Dr. Gordon's conversation. And I was like, why couldn't we have more scenes of that? Like, let me make an example. Like, if you ever seen the movie Hoodwinked, spoiler for that movie, the bad guy in the end is the bunny. And in all four of the stories of the characters, when they go back in time, he's in all of those stories, and he has slight subtle hints, like, and that build up. And so by the time you get there, it feels way more, it feels way more hinted at. And like the Sixth Sense twist, there was a strong hint at the beginning, and so we had something to go off of. Here in this movie, we have no reason to believe at all to guess the guy on the floor because there's nothing assuming about him. You know what I mean? And I get that's the point of a twist, but it's just more kind of like an unfair twist, if almost. You know what I mean? It's just like, sure. It's like it'd be like, once again quoting Confused Matthew's review. He's like, so maybe he's the killer. Maybe he's the killer. Maybe the killer is this front door. It's like, and I kind of get that. And I'm just like, and also who the killer is never going to matter in this film. You know what I mean? Finding out who's the killer isn't going to help out, isn't going to help out anything in the film. You know what I mean? Besides obviously putting the guy away, but it will never matter who this guy is by the end of the movie. In the other movies, yeah, it matters who this guy is, but until then, in this movie, he's just an anonymous face who's doing all this killing with a facade of a psychedelic puppet. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but other problems I have with the movie is a character issue. Now, I get it. When you have this low of a budget, you can't really hire stellar actors. I get that, and actresses, but the two actors we have for the movie. We have I should not really talk about the acting so much as more the characters. Is Dr. Gordon and Adam. And I'm just sorry. This whole situation, this trap that takes place inside the bathroom, is so bad when you think about it. Okay, so let's if you haven't seen the movie, or if you need a refresher, here's the stakes at the game. Dr. Gordon and Adam are trapped inside this bathroom, shackled up on opposite sides. And they read their tape recorder, and they say and Adam is told that he's gonna have to fight for his life, and I got that, and then it goes to Dr. Gordon, and Dr. Gordon's tape is really the only one that matters. Dr. Gordon is given an ultimatum: either you kill Adam by this time, or I kill you, your wife, and your daughter. So even if you think Dr. Gordon is morally objectable here, his innocent wife and daughter are gonna die if he doesn't give in. And it kind of, I don't know, for me it makes him seem like an asshole. It's like any father with half a heart would fucking cut their foot off immediately and shoot him. And killing Adam is morally uncomplicated because he's a loner. He's a drifter. He doesn't have a girlfriend. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't have anything. He just lives by himself in some shitty apartment spying on people. And then that also kind of makes you wonder, like, why is Adam in this trap at all? If anything, he cares too much about his own life. He's too selfish, if anything. Okay? Adam is willing to spy on people and take photographs of them, which is a really stalker thing to do, in order to survive, in order to live. If anything, he's too obsessed with his own life. So I don't know why the Saw killer has him here in the first place. But we'll get to the Saw killer's motivations and why they don't make sense in a minute. So it's morally uncomplicated here why Dr. Gordon should kill him. Not to mention, you know, Adam's been stalking Gordon this entire time, and he's also been lying to him this entire time. He's been keeping information from him this entire time. And then, not to mention, Adam goes and he fucking threatens to cut him at one point in the scene so that they could discover the two-way mirror, which is a major plot convenience that happened to happen right then. Like, you had to have the character have an outburst right at that moment so that you could make so they could discover the two-way mirror. And that this movie does this shit all the time. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about, like, so Adam threatens to kill Dr. Gordon. He's openly sorry. Let me get a little drink here. Okay. He openly threatens him. He talks back to him. He has a huge attitude of him. He's not very nice. He treats the doctor like shit. He spied on the doctor. He's lying to the doctor, and the doctor's daughter, innocent wife, and himself are gonna die. And not to mention all the people that Dr. Gordon could perform surgery on are gonna die if he dies. So why is it at all a question of what should happen here? For me, it's just a no-brainer. And like the fact that he waits to like the last, like after the fact to finally go through and kill Adam and cut his foot off, one makes him look stupid, and two, it just makes him look like an asshole because like your family's in that perilous situation, and it's just like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like. And then Adam is just also unrootable because although he doesn't really have a reason for being here, he just comes off so whiny and annoying, and it's just like you almost want him to die by the end. You're just like, Adam, you're so fucking annoying in this movie. And he's really annoying. He's really mean. He freaks out all the fucking time. He panics like a little bitch. I mean, and also, he just doesn't help his case out. I thought that what the movie could have done, and like, because let's also give some solutions here. I would have had Adam like really have to play the game like hard down to no. Like I would have had in the opening speech that the Saw killer gives to Adam, him say like, Adam, you've always had to been a rat to survive. You've always had to take the low road to survive. You always you did whatever it takes for yourself, and you could have said you have him here because he's selfish, and in the end, Adam just completely plays Dr. Gordon. Like he manipulates him, he lies to him, and at the end he plays Dr. Gordon, and he gets out of the trap alive. And then it turns out that the Saw killer, the reason why he had Adam in the trap is not because he didn't value his life, but because he wanted him to take his mantle. Like he wanted someone who really appreciated their life to the point where they would be willing to do anything to preserve it. And that he plays the game, and the doctor, the killer's dying of leukemia, and he knows he needs to pass on his shit to someone else. So he brings Adam here, and he sees if Adam has what it takes. He sees if Adam is conniving enough and is skilled enough to play the game and win it, and be the first one, maybe even the first one to survive one of the Saw's traps and get out. And then so in the end, Adam goes fucking crazy from the ordeal, and he sees and he ends up becoming. Taking up the Saw killer's mantle, and then he goes on to be the new Jigsaw. I would have thought that would have been cool, and I felt like with this talented directing, and they could have pulled that off, and that would have been interesting to me. But like, they don't do that. Adam dies in the end, and it's just like, well, they're not gonna kill an innocent wife and kid. At the end of the movie, so you knew Adam was gonna have to die, and Adam being alive, these two characters and their predicament, it just makes no sense to me, no sense at all. I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's so morally complicated, and I feel like Adam as a character pisses me off because he just does like he needs to be convincing Dr. Gordon in every way to calm down and to let him live. You know what I mean? He's trying his aim in this game is to stay alive at any means necessary, and he just does such a piss poor job of that. It was like when he dies in the end, it's like, well, you had it coming to you, dumbass. And that's we're gonna segue into our next problem with the movie, and sort of a franchise problem, if you will, is that who are we supposed to root for? Like we can't really. So let's think. Well, maybe like it's something like Dexter, where it's like you kind of root for the killer because he's killing bad people. But the problem is that we can't root for the Jigsaw killer. You know what I mean? He's not. We can't do that because well, he's a hypocrite because he goes and he says, Adam, you're here because you stalk people. And it's like, yeah, well, you stalk people too. I mean, what does he say to Amanda in the trap, in the bear trap? He says, hello, Amanda. You don't know me, but I know you. And it's just like, well, yeah, you obviously had to stalk her. You were stalking Dr. Gordon at the hospital. It's just like, bro, like you're fucking you're a hypocrite. And you say you can't stand people who don't appreciate life. You obviously don't appreciate yours to do anything useful with it. And I get that he's supposed to be like a sociopath who has a flawed outlook on the world. But like, what movies did that much better was fucking The Dark Knight and Infinity War. Those are villains. The Joker and Thanos are villains where it's like, yeah, they're crazy, but you can kind of see the method behind their madness. Okay, and the Saw Killer is kind of going for that too, but it doesn't work because we don't know what his motivation is. Does he want to make people appreciate life, or does he want to punish people, or does he want to punish people for not appreciating life? And those two are opposite to one another. And they're not intertwined with one another. See, here's my example. The first and like, okay, let's look at the barbed wire trap and the whatchamacallit, the bathroom trap, right? Those are traps that require permanent physical harm. Where you're gonna have to lose something. Like it's a you have to sacrifice something to make it out alive. Like the guy who slits his wrist to get out alive, he's gonna have to run through this barbed wire maze. So he's probably, I hate to get gruesome here, he's gonna lose his manhood trying to get through this. He's gonna maybe lose his eyesight from getting stabbed too many times. He's going to get his entire body scratched up and have like everlasting scars on them if he wants to get out of here alive. You know what I mean? He's gonna look like fucking shit afterwards if he's gonna make it out of this trap. He has to make a big sacrifice. Same thing in the bathroom trap. He's gonna, Dr. Gordon has to cut off his foot. Okay, like if he wants to survive, that's what he's got to do. It's like that's the ultimatum given. You know what I mean? Like realistically, right? Because other than like maybe the fact he could have killed him with the cigarette, but like that's what the trap's going for. Is you either cut your foot off, or you don't. And the same thing, even if you want to exclude the cigarette part, look at Adam. If Adam wants to get out of here, like considering that his key went down the drain at the beginning of the movie, he's got to cut off his foot. That's the ultimatum. That's what the hand he's been dealt is he has to cut his foot off. If you want to live, cut your foot off. Simple as that. You know what I mean? And so in that case, he's punishing people who he doesn't think appreciate life. So he's more being a punisher. He's punishing people, in that way. And that's not. And the problem with appreciation of life is that if you have to cut off your own foot, or have to get like physically scarred for the rest of your life afterwards is gonna suck. I mean, imagine trying to go I one in the later movies, like the girl has to cut off her arm to survive. And it's like, bro, do you know how hard it is living with one arm? Imagine never being able to play catch with your son. Imagine not being able to cook dinner. Imagine if someone cornered you in an alleyway, like you get mugged, you're automatically gonna get it. You know how like much your life would suck if you didn't have your arm or your leg, or if you had to be like physically disfigured for the rest of your life afterwards. You know what I mean, or something like that. Or like I think there's also one trap where like the guy's like you have to like he has to literally get his basically both his arms crunched off, amputated, and it's just like your life like their life afterwards is gonna suck. They're gonna hate their life because now they have like a physical disability, or some, like a physical scar on them that's gonna weigh them down. It's gonna make them feel worse. They're gonna hate themselves, and they're probably gonna commit suicide. Because think about it, he does this shit. His victims are gonna get PTSD. They're gonna get night terrors. They're going to, fucking have like repressed memory problems with repressing memories. You know what I mean? And they're gonna be physically scarred for life, and physically handicapped for life, mentally scarred for life. And so most likely, the victims are gonna commit suicide afterwards. Like if we're talking real world shit, and any like rational person is gonna a lot of rational people would commit suicide after this if they had to like cut off their arm and then to get out of a trap and had to survive that ordeal. And if anything afterwards, even if they don't kill themselves, they're gonna hate life because they have this physical disability and they've been mentally scarred. So it's just like you're not really helping people appreciate life. And then like I think in Saw 3D they say this. They're like the girl who has to cut off her arm, the black lady. She's like, what the fuck you, dude? Like you made me cut off my arm. My arm my life sucks now. I'm always in constant pain and everything sucks for me because I only have one arm. It's like yeah, duh. So and then the other traps like the bear trap and the fucking fire trap is like traps where more are on that appreciation of life sort of thing where it's like you could get out of the trap like physically not harmed. Like the bear trap, she doesn't get harmed really, like physically we're talking, not mentally but like physically. She's physically not going to get harmed if she gets out of the trap. She's going to take the bear trap off. She might have some maybe minor scars on the inside of her mouth, but like she'll be fine. You know what I mean? She can lead a normal life afterwards. The guy in the fire trap, if he gets out alive with maybe some exceptions, some damage to his feet, he's gonna be fine as well. He can lead a normal life after this trap if he gets out of it alive. And so for those, the ultimatum is you either live or you die. There's no, that's it. I mean, it's not die or sacrifice like physically get scarred for the rest of your life, or die. I mean, it's live or die. And so like in those traps, like especially the bear trap, one of the best traps in the series, it's like okay, well this makes sense because it's like after you get the head thing off and he comes out and says most people are so ungrateful to be alive, not you anymore. Yeah, I mean, like that, I could like buy into. I'm like, okay, yeah, like if you survive that near-death experience, you realize how, how fickle life is, and how the clock can go off at any moment. Okay, yeah, maybe you could make some morally, better people from that, and that would be somewhat rootable. But like I said, we have traps like the fucking bathroom trap and the fucking whatchamacallit trap, the barbed wire trap. And most of these traps are like this, where it's like you have to physically get scarred for the rest of your life in order to get out. Like one trap was like there's like an Iron Maiden and the guy has to like claw a fucking key out of his eye. He's probably never going to be able to see again and out of that eye. He's going to have a huge gash in his eye the rest of his life. He's going to look like the fucking Terminator when he's poking at his eye with the X-Acto knife. His life's going to suck afterwards. Imagine him trying to get a girlfriend or a wife. Or trying to have friends after that. He's unrootable. His motivations don't make sense. They're just, it's just dumb. So you're thinking, well, that's okay. We can root against him because he's a fucking hypocrite and he's a fucking madman, right? We can root against him because he isn't right. And I'm like, yeah, but remember, his victims are here because they're morally objectable, because they're assholes. Because they were drug addicts, because they tried to kill themselves. And I also find it fucking hilarious how the second guy, like, they say the reason why he's in here is because he says he's sick, but he's not really sick. And it's like, bro, So does that mean like any kid ever who's ever played hooky to get out of school is immediately on this guy's list of people to burn to death? Like really? Like yeah, I malingered a little bit and pretended to be sick. Yeah, to this guy, that means you get fucking burned alive. And I'm just like a fictional sense or no, that's just fucking ridiculous and kind of hilarious. Like the like and like Adam, I'm like the whole time I'm like, why is Adam here in this trap? Like, if anything, he appreciates life too much. He's too selfish. If anything, I don't know, man. I just so the people are morally objectable, so we can't really root for them, and then we can't really root for the killer either. And so it's just like, who are we supposed to root for? You know what I mean? It's like any movie, no matter what it is, no matter how dark and twisted it is, you gotta have something to root for, someone to root for. You know what I mean? And in this one, we don't like in Halloween 19. In Halloween, we have Laurie Strode to root for. We actively want to see her survive. We want to see the little kid survive. Okay, we have something to root for. Yeah, I mean, we want to root against Michael Myers, all right? But like here, I don't want to root for Jigsaw. I don't want to root for his victims. And I could maybe root for the detectives trying to fucking put him behind bars if the detectives were also morally objectable and or also were dumbasses. All right, so there's the detective, right? This I think played by Danny. I think Danny Glover. Don't quote me on that. But you know we got these two detectives, right? And like I said in that fucking scene where they find the Jigsaw killer's lair. Yeah, I mean the whole time I'm just thinking this is the most worstly like written out scene I think I've ever seen in my life. And it's hard to root for them when they're such fucking idiots. Yeah, I mean the entire time, and it's I can't root I can't root for a fucking an idiot. If a character is being so fucking bastardly and dumb throughout a movie, it's just like, it's just dumb. And not only that, but then like, you know, the main cop, the main detective cop, he just is so stupid in his analysis, like of how he keeps thinking Lawrence is the guy, even though the only like evidence that was there was a pen light. Even though he's a surgeon who's like extremely busy and could be on the call at any moment to go to the hospital, he still thinks that he is the killer. And I know why they did this is because they're trying to it's a red herring. They're trying to throw out, well, anybody could be the killer. Well, maybe the cop is the killer. Maybe Dr. Gordon's the killer. Maybe Adam's the killer. Maybe Amanda's the killer. Like we said, maybe the killer is this front door. It's just that shit again. I mean, but like the cop just seems so dumb. He's like, yeah, you got a pen light, but he has an alibi. It checks out. You know what I mean? You had an alibi that was checked out. He disposed of it. So why do you keep thinking that this fucker did it? You know what I mean? I would more look at Amanda to be the killer because she came out of this death trap and said, "Oh, he helped me." And was actually saying that he was a good guy. It's just like, yeah, I'd be more scared of her. And spoiler alert, Amanda turns out to be evil. Yeah, she joins his side. It's just like, duh. Danny, main cop guy. Why aren't you looking at her? Why are you looking at this guy so much? Oh, he comes off as profusely stupid. And then like at the end of the film, he goes and he's chasing Zepp, and he's like keeps beating the shit out of him. And instead of just like there's like so many opportunities where he has just to take the gun and shoot him, or like you could just fucking go and choke him out and finish him off. Remember, this is the guy. The cop at this point thinks Zepp is the killer. Yeah, this is the guy who in his mind, is the guy who killed his partner, and that fucked him up so much that he retired from the force. You know what I mean? This is that guy. So it's the same guy he thinks that has been murdering and torturing all these people. So like, why the fuck is he just like toying with his prey like a fucking comical bad guy? Just fucking choke him to death. Beat the shit out of him. Shoot him with the gun you have. Like, what are you doing? Like, the way he dies at the end is just so fucking comical, and the way they fucking write it out is just so dumb. And it's just like, budget or no, first time writing a movie or no, like you gotta you gotta. I don't know how you let that get by. I don't know, like you couldn't have at least made it look a little bit more convincing, just a little bit. Were you that fucking constricted? But yeah, so I can't. So that's another problem. I just no one's rootable in the movie. I don't know who to root for. I don't know who I want to survive. Like maybe you're like, well, maybe you can root for like the little girl or the wife. But like the only time we see the wife really, we see her interact with the husband, she just bitches out the husband. And the little girl, I don't know enough about her. We don't see enough camera time between him and the doctor to really justify. It just once again I hate to copy, well, not copy, but quote Confused Matthew here again. But Confused Matthew said it perfectly. When you see the Zepp waving the gun in her face, that's just it's just kind of a very, you're making us feel uncomfortable, but in the most basic way possible. It's just like, yes, it's a child with a gun up to her head, but it's just like, we need a little more. We need more of a reason to care about this little kid. I mean, even fucking Wonder Woman 84 gave us more of a reason to care about that little kid at the end than this movie. Like, we had one scene of this little girl and the dad, and it's just like that's not enough. So yeah, you make me feel uncomfortable, but it's just very, like Matthew said, very basic. Just that, it's very default. But anyway, moving on. To my last thing I'm gonna gripe about, because we've already been on 46 minutes and that's kind of a long time. My last thing I'm gonna gripe on is just the plausibility, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because, all in all, it just, the movie's very implausible. You know what I mean? For how shit's gonna happen. You know what I mean? I'll go over like a quick like rapid fire list. Okay, number one, in the bathtub, how is he breathing underwater? Why doesn't he drown? Like number two, like did the killer plan for the key to go down the drain, or like what was the point of the key in the drain? I get like maybe it was something where like you were like, oh, I wanted to have a big reveal moment at the end where like Adam's like, oh shit, I fucked up, and I get that, and that makes the Hello Zep theme work even better, and like that scene work better. But like you kind of think about it, you're like, what was the point of this fucking key? Did he like, what happens if he like doesn't like lose the key down the drain? If he keeps the key, does he just like unlock his shackle and like fucking win the game? Because like then if he unlocks the shackle, he grabs the gun, grabs the tape recorder, stays on the other side of the room the entire time, bam, wins the game, no problem to it. Like, basic, and just like, okay, end the movie. It's like there's no movie then. So like if this killer is so fucking smart and is such a fucking big brain guy, what was the point behind this? And I know in a future movie they go and they show the setup to the first saw, into this saw trap, and I get it, and maybe there's an explanation there, but like I said, I haven't seen that movie. But like I don't know, like what was the point of the key? I don't get it. And then just moving on. Sorry, I keep rambling, but I'm moving on. Then like how he gets like, what happens if like when like the fucking he goes to lasso the tape recorder out of the fucking killer's hand? Like what if he fucking misses? What if he never thinks of that in the first place? Like watching the movie the first time, I didn't think to myself, oh, grab the lasso, do that. Like, no, I didn't think that shit. I was just like, oh, you're fucked. I'm sorry. I don't think people would be that resourceful. You know what I mean? And that quickly they would resort to lassoing it perfectly. And it was like, was that part of the killer's plan? Was then to lasso it? What if they don't fucking think about that? What if he breaks the old ass tape recorder from like 1999 when he fucking goes to lasso it? You know what I mean? What if they break the tape, throw it, or one of the tapes while they're sitting on it? Also, all that shit. Also, I hate how Adam's speech at the beginning from like the fucking killer has no fucking bearing to it and doesn't even give him like an objective of in the film. I hate the dialogue of that so much. And then it's also when there's what if they play the tapes out of order? Well, it's gonna be real fucking awkward. And then like later on, you're like what if they don't discover the two-way mirror? You know what I mean? Once again, and then it's like what if they don't discover the toilet? You know what I mean? What if they don't discover the fucking like why does like the glowy paint not glow up in the dark when they're sitting there in the dark earlier on in the movie? Like why does it take them so like why didn't they see it then? Why do they only see it like now like this late into the film? I just dropped something that kind of scared me. But it's just thing after thing, and it's like also it's like how in the world is a doctor able to cut his own foot off and like not like pass out or like from shock or faint or like die of blood loss? You know what I mean? Like sawing off your foot reminder. You know what I mean? Just like really, like and he's fine after that. I mean that's a pretty traumatic ordeal. Like I doubt this guy would be able to do that would be that easy for him to fucking cut through his foot. But regardless, and then like I said, the killer's plan working out like perfectly the way he needed to work out, everything falling in place in the end. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And then also like I always wondered like why when Amanda goes to the apartment complex and she I think that's Amanda at least I'm pretty sure, and when she goes there to kidnap Adam, I never understood that fucking scene. So she goes and she turns the power out. Okay, did the power just go out in fucking Adam's apartment, or did the power go out in like the entire complex? So so she broke in, turned the fuse box, and like, wouldn't Adam like immediately go and like go outside and see if anyone else has power? What would possess him to immediately go and stock out the rest of his fucking apartment? And like after he sees like the saw puppet do that laughing thing and he fucking bashes in, like why doesn't he fucking just like walk out the front door? Like if I saw that shit in my house and I was alone, I'd fucking run straight out the door. And see that would have been like a fine, like maybe I'm remembering the scene wrong, but I'm pretty sure like his bedroom. He goes and that's when she jumps out at him. Like I was almost thinking to myself like why not just have him like go run out the door and then her be waiting there and then like her pounce on him. I also found it dumb how like Amanda goes and she's like in the car in the back seat and she has to open the car, crawl out, go out, and then jump on the doctor. And it's like the doctor doesn't hear any of this shit. It's like why'd you do that? Why not just like stand behind a car, wait till he comes by and jump out? Because otherwise, imagine if like the door makes noise at any point or you make noise getting out. Like the doctor's gonna fucking know you're there. And he's gonna run away. Bam, your plan shot to shit. I mean, there's just so much in this movie that has to go right, and then there's so much suspension of disbelief where I'm just like I don't care. It's too much. Hopefully, if you're not paying attention to the movie and you're just kind of like lackadaisically watching it, yes, you don't notice this stuff, but like if you pay it any semblance of attention, it's not gonna make sense. Okay, you're gonna be scratching your head there the entire time, thinking like, why, why did you do this? Why did this happen? Why? Um. But that all negatives aside, let me get out like a couple positives. I think the concept has a really good potential. I think the puppet that they got to play, they got for to be his calling card on the tricycle. I think that's really creepy. I think great job at picking a calling card for this guy. I really like the bear trap, and I think I think that that whole contraption on her fucking face is really kind of sinister and creepy. It has a creepy vibe to it. So good job on that. I think the trap where he's in the fucking room with all the fucking numbers is is a cool trap as well. I feel like I like how the movie tries to like make it so that everything has a point in the narrative and everything has like a everything in the narrative comes full circle to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's not a lot of wasted characters or plot points. I feel like everything comes full circle, which I do like. Um, like I said, I just wanted things to make a little bit more sense. I wanted it to be not so much of a big of a suspension of disbelief. I wanted it to, have better motivations behind the characters. I wanted better decision making from the characters, better motivations, uh, better. I just wanted I wanted more. I wanted a more clear defined message and goal, and I just feel like I didn't get that at the end of this movie. And that's a sad thing. I feel like it had the potential. One quick thing I'm gonna comment on, and this one thing I forgot to mention is that when you look at all the traps, a lot of the traps are just really fucking unfair. Like especially like the first two. So the first trap, the first trap, he has to go and he has like a specified amount of time, and he's got to go and he's got to get through this maze of barbed wire. So not only is it first off a maze, which makes it difficult enough as it is, where everything looks the same, but also there's like so much fucking barbed wire in the way. It's like, how do you expect this guy to make it through it? This trap just like seems like impossible. Like even in the movie, like the fucking analyst, like the fucking FBI girl goes, "It's a miracle he made it as far as he did, and he only made it like halfway." And so it's just like, well, like then okay, then he had no chance of making it out. Like, what? Like so then so you knew he was gonna die then that's murder. And like that's another thing. He always says like, "Oh, I didn't kill anyone. The decision's up to them." It's like, no, yeah, you did, because you put him in an unlivable situation. If you put a guy at the end of a barbed wire maze and give him only a little bit amount, a very little, specified amount of time to get through it, that trap, like they said, even if he had all the time in the world, he still would have died from fucking too many cuts and blood loss. You know what I mean? No matter what, he was gonna die in that trap. And so it's an unfair trap. So yeah, you're a killer, and even if he isn't a killer, he's still a kidnapper, assault, battery, whatever you want to name it. He's still torturing the fuck out of people. So yeah, he's unrootable. And if the characters are unrootable, who am I supposed to root for in the movie? But and then like the second trap also is really unfair. It's just like there's glass on the floor and you have to go in this fucking dimly lit room with a fucking candle of wax on, like a flammable wax, and you have to decipher this huge fucking code. Like on the and with this tiny ass fucking candle in this hot and humid as shit room. Like yeah, no wonder he doesn't fucking survive. Like it's fucking rigged from the start. You know what I mean? Like no one could survive that. I'm sorry. Like no one could survive that. This is an unfair trap. And then like the bear trap, it's like you gave, like realistically, you gave her 60 seconds to go get the mask off of her, get out of the chair, go over, take a thin fucking shank, somehow gut the guy, go rip through his intestines, find the bag, get the key, find where the lock on the fucking mask is, because remember, she doesn't know the fucking design of this shit. Find where the fucking keyhole is, put the key in, hope that it doesn't give her any trouble, because we all know fucking how keys can be so fucking difficult. Get the key, unlock it, take it off, and then like during the scene, we see so many scenes of her just like sitting there breathing, like, like trying to get her strength up to do it. And I'm like, that's fine, that's great directed scene. But it's like, why only 60 seconds? Like, did it have to be 60 seconds? Like, no one's gonna be able to do that in 60 seconds. You know what I mean? It's fucking ridiculous. And so, like, the traps are, like, extremely unfair and extremely heavily, against the player. You know what I mean? And so, the traps just don't make any sense. The movie, it just, for me, doesn't have a selling point. If the traps are unfair, if the characters are bad, if the traps aren't even that good, if the violence isn't really that, pronounced, if, the only thing I can get out of this is if you want a movie that, like, a crime drama, If you like crime drama, and maybe if you kind of like the creepy nature of the movie, like the whole puppet and the kidnapping and people, like that's the only selling point I have. There's not enough of a selling point to go and watch this movie. It's not funny at any point. It's just it just gets really cheesy. Like it might be kind of like creepy the first time you watch it, but like after watching it a couple times, it just gets cheesy as hell. I still watch the original Halloween, and I still get it still scares me. I still get creeped out, and I still love it. I can rewatch it. This is a movie I can't rewatch because there's just not enough of a selling point for me. But that's gonna be it for my kind of podcasty review. This is an hour-long review. I know it's long. Props to you if you stuck in this long. Like for real. If you stuck in an hour long of me talking about a movie from 2004 that not a lot of people have seen, like congrats to you, and I thank you. You're a true trooper. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the first Saw movie. Like I said, I'm probably never gonna watch the sequels. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't have the gumption, or I don't really want to spend the money and take the time to watch all those movies. So I'm not. That's probably never gonna come. This is just my thoughts on kind of like on the first movie. If you like the movie, man, great. I'm glad you like it. My brother really likes it as well. I know a lot of people who really like these movies, and that is fine. I'm glad that you enjoyed the movie, and and I'm not trying to get on you if you like the movie, but I'm just explaining why I don't like it and how I think there was missed potential. Like I feel like they could have changed a lot of things, and easily could have written in things better. And maybe we'll make another video talking about why some solutions to maybe some of the problems in this movie. But yeah, that was just my kind of lengthy review on 2004 Saw. If you like this video, I highly recommend you check out some of the other stuff we're gonna be having on season one on some of the other movies we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna be doing stuff on Cars 2, stuff on Speed Racer, The Last Jedi, and The Lion King. We're gonna be doing some other those four other movies. But this was I wanted to pick a horror movie for our lineup, and I was gonna do Friday the 13th, but I felt like Friday the 13th just didn't have enough of a talking. There wasn't enough to talk about and to make a substantial review about. This one, I feel like there was plenty of stuff to talk about and plenty of stuff to poke at and to review. So yeah. Yeah, so like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you. We'll probably have, I think, another Saw video will be released. It's just gonna be probably like a short little spoof video. That's really gonna be it. I'm not gonna really talk more about this in depth. I'm not gonna make like an edited review. I just wanted to get this I think this podcast kind of covered everything I was wanting to talk about. If I also before I go, if I made any mistakes in my facts, like the $1,000 to make the shit act, or like the writer, this being his first time out, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on both of those things. If I didn't get some minor detail correct about where I was saying it, I'm sorry. But the basic general outline is the same. This was the writer's first time, and they had a shoestring budget. Those are facts. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.